I think people overrate his boxing ability, in my opinion.
You think Tank's a better boxer? Forget power.
Floyd Mayweather didn't hold back when talking about Tank's controversial draw with Lamont Roach Jr. He wasn't impressed with Tank's performance, calling it disappointing. But what really caught his attention was how Tank behaved in the ring. Floyd didn't shy away from criticizing Tank, saying he used dirty tactics, a point many fans and experts had also picked up on during the fight.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good fight overall. Lamont, I always knew Lamont was, he wasn't coming to lay down. I've been knowing Lamont since we was kids, so we came up in amateurs together. So I knew Lamont was serious. He was coming in there to fight, but he did a lot better than.
Mayweather pointed out that there were several times during the fight when Tank deliberately used his shoulder to bump Roach in the face. According to Floyd, the referee either didn't notice it or chose to overlook it. He even went as far as saying, "I'm ashamed of them," referring to the ref's lack of action. This sparked a lot of debate, especially since Tank is known for his aggressive fighting style. Many believed he was getting frustrated with Roach and started using these tactics to try and gain an advantage.
What was your mind when you heard the decision?
Nobody like a draw, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more.
Mayweather didn't stop at criticizing Tank's rough tactics. He also raised concerns about something even more troubling, the conversation that took place in the ring. According to Roach, Davis told him, "They ain't going to give it to you." Floyd saw this as a major red flag. He explained that when a fighter feels like they're losing and says something like that, it's a clear sign something isn't right. This comment sparked even more debate, with fans questioning whether Tank really deserved the draw or if the judges were protecting him from an even worse outcome.
What do you make of his comments?
Boxing has become this thing where, you have to be undefeated for people to care about you, and that's all going to go. My son just went to that show this weekend. He said the live event was terrible. Disorganized.
Yeah.
Disorganized, and we're going to clean that up. We're going to make the live events great again too.
Mayweather also touched on an important point that some people were overlooking: styles make fights. He admitted that Tank is an incredibly talented fighter but pointed out that Roach's style gave him real trouble. Floyd explained that boxing is all about styles, and while Tank might look unstoppable against someone like Garcia, Roach's style posed a unique challenge for him. Mayweather gave credit to Roach, saying, "Props to the kid, I hope they give him the win he deserves." This was a strong statement from Mayweather, suggesting that he didn't believe Tank truly won the fight. While he didn't directly accuse anyone of corruption, Floyd made it clear that Roach had a legitimate case to win.
You lost that fight. I mean, the only reason they gave you the fight was because you would make more money as a champion, but there's no way it's a draw, and they didn't call it a knockdown. If they called a knockdown, you lost that unanimous.
One of the biggest takeaways from Mayweather's reaction was his subtle criticism of Tank's corner. While he didn't directly blame Tank's performance on the absence of Calvin Ford, it was clear that Floyd was hinting at bigger issues within Tank's team. Mayweather emphasized that a fighter's success isn't just about skill, it's also about the support system around them. This seemed to be a critique of how Tank has been handling his career lately. As we know, Davis recently split from Leonard Ellaby and, for the first time, fought without Calvin Ford in his corner. Whether people want to admit it or not, these changes seem to be affecting him. The timing made it even more significant. Just weeks before the fight, Tank was seen as a strong contender against Shakur Stevenson. Now, after this performance, fans are questioning if he even stands a chance. Mayweather's comments didn't help Tank's case either. When someone as big as Floyd, considered the greatest in boxing history, publicly says that you struggled against an opponent you were expected to dominate, it shifts the entire narrative. Floyd even went as far as saying Roach deserved the win, which shows just how much he questioned Tank's performance.
We will never see that fight happen again. It just will not happen. Gervonta Tank Davis doesn't like hard fights. It's that simple. We've seen it over and over. He fought a Ryan Garcia drained. He fought a very inexperienced Rolly Romero. He will not fight Devin Haney. He will not fight Shakur. He will not fight Pitbull Cruz again. He will not fight Lamont Roach again. He will not fight
Floyd Mayweather has always been a savvy businessman when it comes to boxing, so for him to not defend Tank Davis and instead praise Roach is a big deal. This is the same Mayweather who once called Tank the future of boxing, but now it seems like he's seeing him in a different light. It almost felt like Floyd was saying, "I told you so." He's always stressed the importance of discipline, having the right team, and proper preparation, and now, Tank is facing the consequences of not fully listening to that advice.
Really in there, man. I thought I won. I thought I did enough to get the victory over a spectacular fighter. I told y'all from the beginning, man, that I got the skills to pay the I've been telling y'all that.
Some people think Mayweather is still holding a grudge against Tank Davis because of how their relationship ended. They believe Floyd sees moments like this as a way to remind everyone that he was the one who helped build Tank's career, and now, without his guidance, things are starting to unravel. Whether that's true or not, one thing's clear: Floyd's comments carried serious weight. He wasn't just offering a casual reaction, he was making a statement. The fact that he chose to focus on what went wrong for Tank, instead of making excuses for him, showed that he wasn't interested in protecting him anymore.
I'm not sure, bro. I'm definitely not sure, but hopefully we could get it before. Nah, it probably won't be this year.
It seems like the criticism of Tank Davis isn't just coming from Floyd. Jeff Mayweather, Floyd's uncle and a seasoned boxing trainer, also weighed in on the fight and the controversy surrounding it. Jeff's views align with Floyd's, further raising concerns about the integrity of the fight and the officiating. He specifically pointed to the 9th round when Davis unexpectedly took a knee after a jab from Roach. Jeff argued that, according to boxing rules, that should have been ruled a knockdown in Roach's favor. In an interview, he said, "If we go by the rules of boxing, it was a knockdown." This perspective suggests that the round should have been scored 10-8 for Roach, which could have had a major impact on the fight's final decision.
Doubt about that, but if you take a knee in the fight and you touch down, whilst punches are being thrown, it has to be a knockdown. I've heard some people saying, "Oh, that he should be disqualified. He went back to the corner." I don't buy that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think that's a warning, but it's a bit of a bizarre situation for me. Like, there was a lot of people in boxing.
Jeff Mayweather expanded on the implications of the missed call, stressing that officiating errors like this could have a huge impact on the outcome of a fight. He pointed out that the referee's failure to recognize the knockdown didn't just affect the scoring, it also potentially robbed Roach of a well-deserved win. This idea echoes Floyd Mayweather's earlier comments about the importance of fair play and the vital role referees play in ensuring impartial decisions. Jeff also raised concerns about the broader issue of inconsistent officiating in boxing, warning that subjective calls could lead to controversies that damage the sport's reputation. By not following the rules strictly, officials risk undermining fighters' efforts and the integrity of boxing as a whole. This view ties into Floyd's criticism of the referee's failure to address Tank's alleged shoulder bumps during the fight. Now, Tank Davis finds himself in a tough spot. The controversial draw with Lamont Roach Jr. has split the boxing world. Some believe Roach was robbed, while others argue Tank simply underestimated him. When it comes to a potential rematch, the general consensus is that Tank should dominate in the second bout, just as Floyd Mayweather did in his rematch with Jose Luis Castillo back in 2002. However, there's a major difference. Mayweather was still building his legacy at that time, while Tank is already a superstar. That changes the whole dynamic.
People want to discredit Tank. He's still a pound-for-pound fighter.
Yeah. What do you think about that fight that happened? You thought it was just off night, or?
Everybody has an off night. Everybody has an off night. Shit, I had a night with Cruz. Everyone has a night. It's boxing.
You want to run that back with Cruz?
For Mayweather, his rematch with Castillo was about solidifying his status as an elite fighter. But for Tank Davis, a rematch with Roach isn't about proving his worth, it's about clearing his name. The damage has already been done. The whispers of favoritism, the debates over whether Roach did enough to win, and the controversy over Tank taking a knee in the 9th round have all left a stain on his reputation. But the big question is, will a rematch truly erase these doubts, or will it simply give Roach another chance to expose the weaknesses many believe Tank already showed?
Decision, or I think a draw was meant to be. So I like the draw.
Do you like the draw? Do you like the knee though? Was that a good call on the ref?
No, if you take a knee, man, if you take a knee in the 90s or in 2000, you're taking a point off. That's the bottom line. You're taking a point off.
If Davis does decide to take the rematch, he'll be expected to win decisively. Anything less would deal another blow to his legacy. But there's a catch: rematches can be tricky. Just ask Anthony Joshua, who thought he'd easily handle Andy Ruiz Jr. the second time around, only to find himself struggling against a more prepared opponent. If Davis underestimates Roach again, or if Roach steps into the ring with even more confidence, an upset isn't out of the question. Then there's the financial side of things. Unlike Floyd, who had everything to gain from his rematch with Castillo, Davis wouldn't be getting much in return. Roach isn't a big name, and the fight wouldn't draw massive pay-per-view numbers. The only real benefit for Tank would be silencing critics, but is that enough to justify the risk? This is where Floyd Mayweather's past decisions offer an interesting comparison. Floyd was always known for his business sense. He never took a fight unless it made sense financially. Would he have given Castillo a rematch if it didn't benefit his career? Probably not. Now, Davis, often compared to Mayweather, faces a similar choice. If there's no big payday involved, why take the risk? If Davis decides against the rematch, the next logical step would be a super fight. And there's no bigger fight for him than Shakur Stevenson. A clash between an offensive powerhouse like Davis and one of the best defensive boxers in the game would create huge buzz. There's a problem, though: politics. Shakur Stevenson is now aligned with Eddie Hearn and, more importantly, with Turkey's Ul Sheikh, the powerhouse behind some of boxing's biggest fights in Saudi Arabia. Davis, however, has made it clear that he's not eager to work with Ul Sheikh. He's been vocal about fighters flocking to Saudi money, questioning whether they are in it for the love of the sport or just chasing paydays. This stance has made any negotiations tough, and with Stevenson firmly in Ul Sheikh's camp, a fight between them seems more unlikely than ever. The irony here is that if Davis wants the biggest fights, he might have no choice but to work with the Saudi billionaire, Ul Sheikh. He's currently controlling some of the sport's biggest events, and if Davis continues to refuse to collaborate with him, he risks being left out of the most lucrative paydays. If Stevenson isn't an option, who else is there? Teofimo Lopez Jr. is tied up with a major fight at Madison Square Garden, and he also has a complicated relationship with the boxing world, making fights with him hard to arrange. Then there's Vasyl Lomachenko. A few years ago, that would have been a blockbuster fight, but Lomachenko is now 37 and seriously considering retirement. Would he even be motivated to fight Davis at this stage in his career?
Into Tank retiring.
He's retired?
So,
nah, he's not retiring. It's a lot of big fights to be made out there, and Tank knows that. I don't think he's gonna retire, with a lot of...
Kaysen Davis is a solid fighter, but he's still not a mainstream name. Hardcore boxing fans might love the matchup, but it wouldn't generate the kind of hype Tank is used to. Then there's WBC junior welterweight champion Alberto Pella, who recently won a world title. Davis could go after him for another belt, but let's be honest, does anyone really care about Tank fighting Pella? Probably not. This is the real issue Davis is facing. If he doesn't take the Roach rematch and continues to avoid working with Ul Sheikh, he's running out of high-profile opponents. That said, Davis isn't in danger of becoming irrelevant anytime soon. His name alone is enough to sell out arenas. For example, the Capital One Arena had 19,250 fans in attendance for his fight against Roach. Even in a controversial fight, he remains a major attraction. But, as with all things, this won't last forever.
Knockdown. Look, I ain't the ref. I ain't really, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he had to wipe sweat out his eye, he had to wipe sweat out his eye. But the rules do state, if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count. But it is what it is. I wasn't relying on that. I was relying on what I was doing. And I think
boxing fans are growing impatient. They want to see Davis in the biggest fights. If he keeps taking on lower-tier opponents, the excitement around his career could start to fade. This is why Floyd Mayweather was always so strategic with his matchups. He never let fans get tired of watching him fight. But Davis seems stuck. The biggest fights are blocked by political barriers, and the most obvious one, the Roach rematch, doesn't seem to excite him. The reality is, Davis can still make millions fighting whoever he wants. But if he truly cares about his legacy, he'll need to make a move soon. Will he finally agree to a fight under Ul Sheikh's terms and face Shakur Stevenson? Will he surprise everyone and take on Teofimo Lopez? Or will he settle for an easy title grab against Pella? The most interesting part of this situation isn't just what Davis will do, it's how fans will react. If he avoids the toughest fights, will people start questioning whether he's really the best at 135 and 140? Or will his star power be enough to keep him on top? No matter who he fights, one thing is clear, Davis is at a crossroads. He can either take the fights that will define his legacy or continue playing it safe. The choice is his. Ryan Garcia and Shakur Stevenson didn't waste any time reacting to Tank Davis's controversial draw with Lamont Roach. Both fighters had strong opinions, and their responses only added more fuel to the fire surrounding Tank's performance. Ryan, as expected, didn't hold back. He went straight to the biggest talking point, Tank taking a knee in the 9th round. According to Ryan, that moment should have been ruled a knockdown. He pointed out that Roach landed a clean jab, and instead of fighting back, Davis took a knee and went to his corner. In Garcia's eyes, that was all the proof he needed that Roach should have won. It was a knockdown, Ryan posted, making sure the world knew he wasn't buying Tank's excuse about his eye, and it wasn't just Ryan. Many in the boxing community, including Terence Crawford, agreed that the moment should have been scored in Roach's favor.
I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning. You can get knocked out like that, so I'd rather take the knee than, you know. But I ain't really know that you can like get disqualified for all that. Or like when they start counting, I'm like, what the hell?